Friends, today I'm going to tell you about two children whose lives were tragically lost at the hands of their parents. This video will make your blood boil, it'll make your heart break, and it'll make your mind melt. But someone needs to call out such heinous individuals as well as telling the stories of these poor children. You see, I'm a father myself, and there's nothing I cherish more than my son. Being a parent is a gift, it's a blessing, it's supposed to make you go from being childish into becoming an adult. Anyway, let's get into it. On September the 5th, 2011, various neighbors living on Transylvania Avenue in Warren, Ohio, convened to have a barbecue celebrating the Labor Day holiday. Labor Day is generally the first week in September for those that don't know. Among the group was Joy Hodge, Amanda Clay, Vanity Wallace, and Tiffany Davenport. The group ate, drank liquor, as well as wine, and smoked marijuana throughout the day. They ultimately convened at Vanity Wallace's apartment and continued carousing late into the evening. You see, if Joy simply used Surfshark, she could have changed her location to London or even Madrid, where the drinks are cheaper. With Surfshark, you can have the perks of each country. Like myself, I use VPN to log into the sports networks overseas so I can watch their games. With Surfshark today, you can get 83% off and 3 months free. With no buffering or annoying pop-ups, get access to Netflix catalogs for 15 countries and watch content online without tracking or censorship. Finally, one Surfshark account can be used on an unlimited number of devices such as PC, Mac, Android, iOS, Amazon, Apple, Chrome, Firefox, Xbox, PlayStation, and many more. You get 24/7 support, get help anytime you need it via live chat, email, or social media. There's strict no logs policy, meaning they won't collect your data no matter what. You also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So please use code TruRed for 83% off and 3 months free. Link is in the description. Quite the party it seems. At approximately 9 p.m, Chris Foster, another neighbor and Joy's boyfriend at the time, stopped by the apartment to socialize. While there, Foster had a drink or two and smoked marijuana with the others. He left around 10:30 p.m. and went back to his apartment and fell asleep. Joy left Wallace's apartment sometime after 11 p.m. Now near midnight, Joy phoned David Brantley, the father of Joy's 15-month-old daughter, Anana Brantley. Joy invited Brantley to come to her apartment. He declined this offer. Clearly, he wasn't in the mood. Meanwhile, at Wallace's apartment, the remaining partiers had recently ran out of liquor. Recognizing all liquor stores were closed, they decided to go to a bar. Amanda Clay went to retrieve Joy at her apartment but discovered Joy's door was locked. She found this unusual because Joy generally left her door unlocked when she was home. Clay, however, asked Foster, who was at his home, to open Joy's apartment with his spare key. And this is important. Why does Foster have a spare key? Foster opened the door and apparently returned to his home. After some discussion, Joy agreed to accompany Clay and several others to the bar. The group met at the bar around 12:15 a.m. and 12:30 a.m., where they drank, danced, and sang karaoke until approximately 2:30 a.m. As I said, quite the party. The record does not disclose who, if anyone, stayed with Joy's children, Anana and her other 2-year-old daughter, while Joy was out. Now what's interesting is that the court documents did not disclose who was staying with Joy's children at the time. She's out partying, and her daughter Anana and her other 2-year-old daughter were both at home. At 2:28 a.m., Joy called Brantley again and told him their daughter was in the hospital with an ear infection. Brantley testified He heard loud music in the background and asked Joy why she was at a party if the child was in the hospital. Joy became irritated, started cursing him out, and Brantley just hung up. Joy continued to phone Brantley, but he refused to take her calls. Joy and the others returned to their homes and did not see one another until the next day. The next morning, Joy went to a dentist appointment around 9:45 a.m. and at around 1 p.m. a neighbor encountered Joy, distressed and crying near her apartment. Joy bluntly told the neighbor, "Anana, she's dead in her crib." Joy claimed she last checked on Anana at 8 a.m. She gave the baby a sippy cup and left her to rest. The neighbor called her sister, Lakeisha Blackburn, another neighbor, and the two women accompanied Joy to her apartment. Upon arrival, they observed the lifeless body of Anana in her crib. One of the neighbors called 911 and Blackburn unzipped the child's nightie in an attempt to find a pulse. She immediately noted that the child was cold and stiff. She also noticed a mark on Anana's face and bruising on her chest and ribs. Although Blackburn attempted CPR, she stopped upon the recognition the victim was too stiff to move. Blackburn, dubious of Joy's earlier contention, told Joy she did not believe she checked on the child at 8 a.m. because the child was way too cold, like somebody had just pulled her out of the freezer. Within minutes, first responders Michael Nelson and Theodore Pettigrew, both EMTs, arrived at the scene. They checked the baby and described her as cold and stiff. Both confirmed Blackburn's observations of visible bruising on the child's face and extremities. While surveying the scene, Pettigrew overheard Joy on her cell phone exclaim, "Get your fucking ass here, your baby is dead." My assumption is that she's talking to Brantley on the phone. Certified forensic death examiner Rebecca Bluedorn was subsequently called to the scene. Bluedorn assessed the condition of the body, noting bruising to the child's left cheek, right abdomen, belly, and thighs. Joy told the emergency personnel and the investigator she had last seen Anana alive at 8 a.m. An autopsy was conducted on September 7, 2011 by Trumbull County Coroner Dr. Humphrey Gamaniak. He noted various areas of bruising on Anana's face, back of the head, both thighs, and redness to her chest. The child's liver was lacerated, indicating blunt force trauma. The doctor also noted hemorrhaging to the abdomen and swelling to the brain. As a result of this examination, the coroner concluded the cause of death was homicide due to multiple blunt force injuries. So the question remains, well, who did it? The injuries, in his medical opinion, were a result of an assault. Death, in his opinion, occurred within minutes of when the injuries were inflicted. Due to the condition of the body, when it was discovered, the coroner said Anana died between 1:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. on September 6, 2011. When asked how he drew to this conclusion, he said that Anana's body was in full rigor at the time she was discovered and psychologically stiff 8 to 12 hours after the death. Because the EMT report indicated an arrival time of 1:30 p.m. September 6th, the doctor stated a low ball time of 5:30 a.m. on that date and a high ball time of 1:30 a.m. When asked whether the body could have been alive at 8 a.m., the doctor said probably not, which is interesting because 8 a.m. is the time Joy said that she would last saw the baby. Joy provided police with two statements, one on September 6th and one on September 8th. In her initial statement, Joy denied harming her child, asserting The child woke up with bruises, but she could not account for the origin. Essentially, she's claiming the bruises, they just happened because they just happened. She claimed she checked on her at 8 a.m., kissed her, and gave her a sippy cup. In her second statement, Joy claimed her friend, Precious Stevenson, babysat Anana when she went out. In an apparent attempt to corroborate the statement, Joy asked Stevenson to give police a statement confirming that she was watching the infant on Labor Day evening. Stevenson obliged and told police she sat with Anana on Monday night and saw the child on Tuesday morning. 2 weeks later, however, Stevenson visited police and corrected her story. She explained to police that Joy had asked her to lie for her. Stevenson then told police she neither watched the infant on Labor Day nor saw her on Tuesday morning. So Joy tried to drop her friend right in the mixer, didn't she? Stevenson stated that the last time she saw Anana was Saturday, September the 3rd, 2011, and the child had no bruising on her face at that time. On September the 15th, 2011, Joy was interviewed by William Evans, owner of Investigative Safety. During this interview, Joy claimed Stevenson and her boyfriend, Chris Foster, who had a key to her apartment, were with Anana from 9:30 p.m. on September the 5th until 3 a.m. on September the 6th. During that interview, Joy suggested that although Foster left around 3 a.m. and Anana was fine at 8 a.m., he could have re-entered her apartment with his key and assaulted the child. Foster confirmed he had a key and told police he gave the key to Antonia Rogers, which is one of the neighbors, on Tuesday, the day Anana was discovered dead. So, Joy tried to drop her friend Stevenson in it, didn't work. She's now trying to drop Foster in it. Will it work? Well, let's keep going. Foster claimed, however, he was not in Joy's apartment on either Monday or Tuesday. He further asserted he never entered Joy's apartment unless Joy was with him. Foster further stated he had never physically harmed or disciplined Anana. And for me, there's a bigger question here. Why are you out karaokeing, singing your heart away when your kids are at home? What's wrong with you, Joy? This isn't what Cyndi Lauper meant by saying girls want to have fun. Joy eventually was indicted for the death of her daughter, and the indictment said that she recklessly abused the child and caused her death as a proximate result of committing or attempting to commit a first or second degree felonious assault or child endangering. Joy repeatedly insisted that she did not take the life of her 15-month-old daughter. Joy did admit to striking the toddler more than once on the leg and on her mouth. Joy told William Evans, a private investigator and polygraph expert, that her youngest daughter upset her by biting her near the collarbone, and another time she got into the cleaner or detergent kept under the kitchen sink. So what if she bit you? You know what my son does? He pinches me all the time, grabs my hand, pinch, pinch, pinch. No matter how many times I tell him not to do it, he still does it. So what? He's barely 3. He doesn't know any better. During the trial, William Evans took the stand, and while prosecutors played the audio recordings of Joy's interview from September 15th, Joy said, "I popped her one on the leg," as well as admitting to the punishment on the mouth. But at the same time, Joy continued telling Evans it had to be someone else who actually took the life of Anana. At one point, Joy even tried to convince Evans that someone with the key to her home most likely entered the house and stole banana pudding she had made for a Labor Day party and then took the life of the child. Well, yeah, because your banana pudding is well known, isn't it, you muppet? Evans himself was working with Warren police detectives in questioning Joy as a suspect 9 days after the death. And at the end of the interview that lasted for more than an hour, Evans told the woman that police would be arresting her. "I have requested this interview, so hopefully I'll get it soon." Joy cried and wailed, "I don't want to go to jail. I didn't do it. No, no." Why am I going to jail for something I didn't do? Joy cried out as Warren Detective Wayne McKay read her Miranda rights. What caused you to lose it? Was it the Long Island iced tea? What triggered it? Evans asked on the recording, referring to the Labor Day evening when Joy apparently left the baby alone to go with friends and sing karaoke at a local bar. If we conclude that we don't know what really happened to the kids, that in itself is a crime. Joy said, "If I'm guilty of anything, it's going out." Well, duh. There's a difference between accidental and intentional. I don't think you meant to kill anyone. I think you convinced yourself you didn't do it. This is what Evans told Joy. When Detective Wayne McKay continued questioning Joy about the death of her daughter, she described it as one explosive moment. It looked like it happened sometime after she got home, and it looks like something went wrong. McKay said the child's brain was swollen to the size of an adult's and the back of the head was like mush. According to testimony, Joy arrived home after leaving the child alone to go with friends to a local bar for a night of karaoke. As I said, that is a crime in itself. Joy, who was 29 at the time, said she came home sometime between 12:30 and 3 a.m. that day. She always insisted throughout the trial that she did not kill her youngest of 4 children. The toddler's father, David Brantley, testified that he got a call from Joy shortly after midnight that day wanting him to come back to her home. He said he didn't go. Then about 2:30 a.m. he got another call from Joy saying she was taking Anana to the hospital with an ear infection. Brantley said that when he called the next day, the girl's body had already been discovered. Now on February the 19th, 2012, Joy was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. She felt the conviction should have been reversed due to the lack of direct evidence linking her to the murder, as well as the possibility that Chris Foster actually committed the crime. She pointed out that Chris Foster possessed the key to her apartment prior to the murder. Foster testified he had relinquished the key to Antonio Rogers, the neighbor, at some point on Labor Day. He had previously told police, however, he gave the key to Rogers on September the 6th. And Amanda Clay testified that between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Labor Day, Foster let her into Joy's apartment with the key. Now, Joy contended that all of this evidence was sufficient to establish reasonable doubt as to her guilt. As a result, the jury lost its way in convicting her of the crimes. But of course, the authorities dismissed this appeal. Now, my conclusion on this case before I move on to the next one, I think in my life I've maybe been to karaoke twice, and both times it was shit. Just standing there, drinking, singing like an ass, hoping to have a bit of fun. Now, of course, I'm sure karaoke is more fun than that. I'm sure you guys enjoy karaoke, but at the expense of your children? My conclusion on this is when she came home around 2:30 a.m., the child was maybe crying, hungry that it was left alone, maybe it was pissing her off, and then she striked the child, maybe with a slap or something, threw the child onto the bed, something, I don't know, either way, she was aggressive toward the child, and then the child stopped breathing. She probably was a little drunk, and sometimes when you're drunk, you do feel a little numb, therefore you're not always aware of your surroundings, you know what I mean? So she probably wasn't aware of the force that she was using. I don't think she did it deliberately, but in this case, her intention is irrelevant, because why the was she out singing her heart away in the first place? Don't nobody want to hear you sing Mariah Carey? Silly cow. We now move on to Jessica Dutro in the state of Oregon. On August 14th, 2012, Jessica and her boyfriend, Brian Kennedy, called 911 to report that her son was unconscious after collapsing at Good Neighbor Center, a family homeless shelter in which the couple lived with Dutro's 3 children. Now, Jessica's 7-year-old daughter at the time said the couple routinely abused her and her siblings for not being good. I already know that these two are a bunch of classless wankers. She recounted at the time when Zachary, her brother, who was 4, in trouble again. They kept him and him because he wasn't listening, she said. He got sick after that. After a while, he made soft groaning sounds. Eventually, he stopped breathing. Jessica and Kennedy knew Zachary was sick, she said, but they didn't tell anybody. On the morning of August 14th, 2012, the couple did call for help. Zachary was unresponsive. Jessica told police that he didn't wake up when she roused him and his 3 siblings. It was said earlier they tried to give him a shower because he had wet himself, his body was limp, and his eyes had rolled. Dr. Danny Leonhardt testified that the boy was beyond help by the time help arrived. Zachary was taken off life support on August 16th, 2012. The doctor said, "We didn't see him until he essentially was dead. We did not get a chance to fix him." Here is where the shocking, disturbing details are revealed. You ready for this? Zachary's bowel was torn into 2 pieces. The contents of his intestines had leaked out into his body for at least 2 days, the doctor said. This resulted in shock, and the infection is what killed Zachary. How do you tear someone's bowels? What kind of pain and abuse were these 2 morons inflicting? This really pisses me off. Doctors concluded that abdominal trauma had caused the tears in Zachary's gut. High-velocity car crashes or bike accidents could cause similar injuries, the doctor said. Otherwise, it took forceful, violent, or something to cause such injuries. So basically, he went through a car crash without going through a car crash. Wow. Bruises were all over Zachary's body. They suggested that the child had pulled himself into a fetal position to protect himself from the abuse. The various injuries indicated he had been abused multiple times. Old dead tissue from a deep cut hung off Zachary's lip. Now, Dr. Leonhardt, a child abuse specialist at Randall Children's Hospital, could not recall another case where a child had that kind of injury. The doctor said most children with such a wound would have been brought in for emergency care. Doctors tried to save Zachary, but the damage was too great. As the doctors were working on the child's case, Leonhardt said he ran into Zachary's aunt and younger brother in the hospital. The 3-year-old brother was also covered in bruises. Leonhardt also evaluated Zachary's siblings. He diagnosed all of Jessica's children with child abuse except for the youngest, Jessica and Kennedy's infant son. Zachary's 3-year-old brother, the doctor said, had 5 broken ribs. The fractures showed at least 2 different stages of healing, indicating multiple instances of abuse. Zachary's 7-year-old sister had extensive bruising on her back, chest, buttocks, and hip. What on earth were this couple doing to these kids? When the doctor informed Jessica of his diagnosis, he said she became very angry and very upset. Bit late for that, isn't it now, darling? She was mad at the doctors, he said, for not telling her and Kennedy sooner about the details of Zachary's injuries. They'd already talked to police. They'd been made to look like idiots, he recalled her saying. Zachary again died on August 16th from intestinal tears caused by abusive trauma to his abdomen. The doctors examined Zachary's older sister, who also had bruises. The girl reluctantly disclosed that she and her brothers received lickings for misbehaving. In counseling, she eventually disclosed that she saw Jessica and Kennedy, Zachary, before he died. So the question is, why was Jessica so aggressive towards him? Well, there was one theory where Jessica believed Zachary was gay. How on earth can you determine the sexuality of a 4-year-old boy? You're f***ing stupid. Jessica faced 7 counts in the death of her son. 1 count of felony murder, 5 counts of murder by abuse, and 1 count of second-degree assault. The prosecution argued that Jessica assaulted her son and then allowed him to die because his mere presence angered her. I think that's more closer to the truth. She just hated him. Why? Because she's just a lazy cow. She could not be asked to deal with the child. In a Facebook message, to her boyfriend. Jessica said Zachary was going to be gay and it made her mad. Brian Kennedy took a plea deal, however, and testified against Jessica and pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of first-degree manslaughter and second-degree assault. Even though he testified, in my mind, I can't help but think, what a... When questioned by detectives, he admitted that he had kicked Zachary in the stomach because the boy wanted to take off his shoes before sitting down to watch TV. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison and should be released very soon. For her 4-year-old son's death, Jessica received a life sentence in Washington County Circuit Court. At the time, prosecutors said the pair committed a deadly assault on Zachary in the homeless shelter, then watched as his health deteriorated. They called for help only when he was beyond saving. Neither can ever again have contact with Zachary's 3 siblings, including his 8-year-old sister who witnessed the beating and testified in the case. The judge at the time said, "You made an 8-year-old come here and testify in front of a jury when he had no triable case." He added that Brian's actions were low, but not as low as Jessica's. And as I said earlier, they were in a homeless shelter, so I can only assume their lives were miserable, so to speak. So, let's have a look at the scenario. They live in a homeless shelter. They have children. Jessica's life is not ideal. I'm not trying to mock or judge those that live in a homeless shelter, but it's not the ideal situation to be in. I think this gay or homosexual angle that she used was just a way to make herself feel better. She took out all her anger, all her pain, all her shortcomings in her mind. Why am I in a homeless shelter? Why is my life so crap? All of those mental hurdles, she took them out on Zachary. Why? Because she's just a silly cow. There's no excuse. Oh yeah, sorry I hurt my child. My life is shit. I didn't know what else to do. Sure, depression, mental illness, even if you want to say that should not result in taking the life of Zachary. How f***ing dare you? And whether it's Joy, or whether it's Jessica, or whether it's Brian, or whether it's every other case I've spoken about, where parents take out their anger on their children, it's just shit. Because I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen a child be born. I've seen a child grow every day, every step of the way. I did not run. I did not hate. I embraced it. Why? Because that's my job. So I know the mental deficiencies that these people would have been going through. Am I good enough? Can I do this? This is too much pressure. For sure, I get it. But too many times in life, people use that excuse when they asked for this. When you have the child, you are asking for this. When you have a child, when you agree on pregnancy, or even if you don't agree, when you have a child and you decide, I want to raise this baby, you then make the commitment. These mental hurdles, they don't matter. You overcome them. You idiots. Comment, tell me what you think.